you made it to chapter 5. We are past the halfway mark of our mini lecture series. Today we're going to be looking at middle and late childhood, specifically focusing on intelligence theories. All right, so we have general intelligence factor, which is our common ability that underlies our intellectual abilities. So those are, generally speaking, our abilities to process, to learn, to reason and adapt, and these are assessed in a variety of ways. Our specific intelligence is a measure of specific skills across narrow domains. So that is proficiency or aptitude in subset of skills or abilities. So our general intelligence factor, that influences, again, how we move through with our specific intelligence. Want to go over Sternberg's triarchic theory, tri being 3, so 3 parts to this, so 3 different types of intelligence. The first is analytical intelligence. It's that academic problem solving, being able to perform calculations and computations, looking to find that solution, that correct answer. How many of you fit into that category? The next one is creative intelligence. These are our innovators, our imaginative problem solvers. They find new solutions that may not have been thought of before. And then lastly, we have this practical intelligence. It's that common sense or that street smarts. Have you ever been told that, oh, you're street smart? That's that practical intelligence. And when we think about these 3, oftentimes we have a combination of all 3, right? Some of us may have, be stronger in 1 or 2. But what is, according to Sternberg, true intelligence is defined really as a balance or an incorporation of all 3 of these types of intelligence. All right, so some important components for creativity. We have expertise. This is creative people have been studied and they've learned about a topic. You become an expert on a given topic. Imaginative thinking, when we view problems in new and different ways. Risk takers. How many of you are risk takers? People that take on new but potentially risky approaches. Intrinsic interest is when we take on projects just because they bring us joy or we're interested in them, not because we're going to be compensated or earn money for them. Working in creative environments, the most creative people are supported, aided, and challenged by other people working on similar projects. So that collaboration, that working together with others really helps to drive that creativity. Another theory of intelligence is Howard Gardner's multiple intelligences, and he posited that there were 8 intelligences that were separate from one another. We're not really sure how many intelligences there really are. We're going to hit a table here in a minute that'll show you those 8 stages, but it's believed that there are more intelligences that are even beyond these. And so we have intelligence versus ability versus talent. So looking at this list, I want you to think about which one you feel like you most closely tie to. Do you feel like you have linguistic intelligence, which is that ability to speak and write well? Do you have logical mathematical intelligence, which is the ability to use logic and math skills to solve problems? Spatial, that's ability to think and reason about objects in 3 different dimensions, right? Musical is the ability to perform, and not just perform, but to really enjoy music. Does music bring you joy and calmness? Kinesthetic or bodily intelligence, that's the ability to move your physical body right through space. That might come in the form of sports, dance, any type of physical activity. We have interpersonal, which is the ability to understand and interact effectively with other people. Intrapersonal is the ability to have insight into self, someone that's really reflective. And then we have naturalistic, which is the ability to recognize, identify, and understand animals, plants, and other living things. So as you're looking at these specific intelligences, which one stands out to you? Or there are a couple that really resonate with you. And sometimes these intelligence, they can change over time, right? Depending on the things that we've experienced in life. All right, so there are different ways to measure intelligence. It's really important, though, that we identify that when we're talking about intelligence and testing intelligence, the test that we're taking they need to be reliable. They should be consistent over time. They need to be valid, that they're really measuring intelligence and not something else. There should be some form of standardization, giving tests to people at different ages, compute average score at each age level, right? We're not going to, in the next slide, we're going to be talking about IQ and again, measuring that intelligence with the consideration of an age factor. And then the Flynn effect is increased scores on intelligence due to better nutrition and education. Okay, so this is that, such a common test, the IQ test. And this is one of those tests that is adjusted for age. It takes into account mental age and then also your chronological age. And there's actually a formula for it. You can see that here. What's fascinating is that most, if we look at this next slide here, you can see that the distribution of these IQ scores falls actually primarily within this range of 85 to about 115. You do have some outliers there, right? But those extremes are more the exception than the rule. So some of the extremes of intelligence, we do have some that have some of those deficits in IQ. And adaptive functioning, the ability to complete and do daily life tasks independently. That accounts for about 1% of the population and is typically caused by genetic or environmental factors. And then we have also on the other end of that spectrum is giftedness, IQs of 130 or higher. And those are typically associated with good professional and social outcomes. There's debate on whether someone has to be good in all of the areas or if it's just on some. And this is also something that's really challenging sometimes in our education field, looking at how to support our students that have giftedness, right, that are looking for more of a challenge in the classroom. How do we challenge them and how do we help them to also reach their full potential? All right, that's it for chapter 5. We'll see you in chapter 6.